DJ Dewey Rock on the track.
Welcome to Emerge Podcast 360. I'm your host, Maserati. We want to thank you for tuning in. No matter where you are in this metaverse world, we're going to continue to bring you the best quality content and formula that we know how. This is Sunday Beyond the Game. We have a great show for you. This is being brought to you by Involved Social and Civic Club, where we understand the social and civic need, and Chopping Wood 24/8, Coach K, Kenny Gaines. Hey, we want to thank you for all the likes, shares, and subscriptions thus far on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and YouTube. We have a great show. We have a legendary standout, one of Bastrop City's own. Mr. Brian Jones is in the building. Brian is the son of LaVersa and the legendary late Coach Jesse Burnett. Brian is the youngest of 8 children, and he has children of his own. Brian has 3 children, Brontavious White, Brian Jr., and Jordan Jones. He's a graduate of Bastrop High School, class of 1999, where Brian says the best class. He also attended the University of Lafayette in Louisiana, where he received a scholarship in 1999 and 01. But Brian would take a time off from school, where he would return to the University of Arkansas Pinebluff in 08, and he would go on to be an undrafted NFL free agent, where he would play with the Jacksonville Jaguars, where his quarterback was the great Brian Leftwich, and he played with Jackson State Hall of Famer and legendary Mr. Jimmy Smith. He went on and he was traded to the New England Patriots in 07 and 08, where he played with the GOAT Tom Brady, where he learned a lot from the GOAT. After his football career, Brian started his career in law enforcement with the Morehouse Parish Sheriff Department and the Bastrop Police Department from the years of 08 to 2014. And he is currently with the Tulsa County Sheriff Department Fugitives Task Force Extradition Unit in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our own standout, legendary tight end, Mr. Brian Jones is in the building. How you doing today, Brian?
What's going on, man?
We're
glad to be here.
Yes, sir. We're glad to have you on, Brian. We wanted to make this a very special show. You being a tight end, you to Lance Sawyer and Solomon Lee. I don't think any other guys done it at that position. Brian, kind of share with the people about how it was for you growing up in big old Strop City.
Man, I love Strop City. Strop City is my town. I love it. Love to get back there, but you know, as everybody else do, I love to leave it also. Strop City is where I grew up at. You know, from Strop City to Collison, Louisiana. That's my stomping ground. Grew up in Eden Apartments, Green Apartments, Julia Street. You know, everything about Bastrop I love.
Right, Brian. You know, Strop City is a very unique place, and you know, we talked earlier. You had some adversity in your life coming up through your childhood. Kind of share with the people about how it was being the son of the legendary Coach Jesse Burnett.
You know, me and him never had that father-son relationship like, you know, most father and son have. You know, to some of my own fault, I was stubborn. I was, you know, I didn't see him as other people seen him, you know, and we never just clicked that way. Like him and his other kids, you know, they had a great relationship. It just never twinkled down to me. But, you know, I was fortunate that my grandma had 14 kids and 7 of them was men, and, you know, they pretty much took me under their wings, and, you know, so I had 7 fathers. They kept me in line and kept me in place.
Right, you know, and it takes a big man to step up to the plate and to admit his fault and it's wrong in any type of relationship. And you shared with me about your stubbornness, but you went on and you sucked that up. How has that helped you as being a better father with your children, what you went through with your legendary father?
Oh yeah, I love parenthood. Like I love my kids. You know, a lot of people say they are well taken care of. I don't deny they spoil. I don't deny they are spoiled. But yeah, uh, my older son, then I got one, Brian Jr., who is every bit of me. He's into football. You know, he think he's the best thing on the field. And I even got a little 5-year-old girl that wonders why she can't play football. So I
Wow,
love
wow.
fatherhood.
Right. Brian, and I'm so overwhelmed that you were able to come on the show with short notice. But we greatly appreciate you, and we want to kind of get into about the life of Brian Jones, playing with the Rams, coming from a program prior to you coming there. It was 0-10, and wasn't the best. Kind of share with us about your career here in Scrap City under legendary Coach Brad Bradshaw.
What people don't understand is, like, I hated football. Like, I was not a football fan. I was strictly baseball, basketball. I was not anything about football. And then, like, I started going to the games and I seen some of the legends that I'm going to call legends, like DeAndre Richardson from, Eden Apartments. If you're from Eden Apartments, you know Drakey. And Drakey was, the best to us. Then you got the Sawyer boys, Marcus and Talance, and then, Fred Houston, just them guys, watching them made me look at it and say, yes, I wanted to play football. And, started playing football. People would say Bastrop High, but I take it back further. Eden Apartments against Forest Park. That's where we learned how to play football. Or Eden Apartment against the Dish Boys playing, straight street football. And that's what it was. And from there on, I went to Bastrop High. I got to Bastrop High, and football is way different at Bastrop High and pretty much everywhere else I see now. When I was at Bastrop High, you played football because you wanted to. There was no such thing as, hey, I'm playing because I'm getting the ring. Because, man, 0-10, 1-9, there were no rings. When you got out there and played football, when I played, you played. And then, Brad took over. I want to say in 98, he took over. And, we went to 4A and, we started seeing the winning. We started, turning it around, and just some of the best years that I ever had. And, I had the luxury to play again with, Troy Mason, Ira Brown, Jeremy Miles, just Mario Green, just players that, was in my class and the class before me. And, Brad sat us down and told us, it's different. And that's how we played.
Right. And we want to go back. You mentioned some of the guys that you played what we call gridiron football, backyard football, kill a man with football. You talked about DeAndre Richardson, which we call Drakey, one of the guys, injuries kind of prone his high school career, but he's supposed to be that guy. Then you talk about Talane Sawyer and the Marcus Sawyers. When you was getting ready to get highly recruited, what influence did these guys have particularly in helping you decide where you was going to go to college?
I went, before I even thought about me even playing college, I went to the weight room one day, and I seen Talance, and he had came home, and he's in there like being pressing or squatting out, I want to say, like 500 some pounds on the thing. And he was like, come on, little man, get you something. And I'm like, I can't do none of that. And, me and him talked, and he told me about, his college career, how it was going and stuff. And I'm like, oh, man, And, I had a brother that played football, and he went on to play college. Talking to him and talking to other people, I was, they said just go ahead and enjoy the moment, and which I did. I got recruited more for defense than I did for offense, but I felt like I wanted to play offense, so ended up landing in Louisiana Lafayette.
Right. When you went to ULL, AB, your brother, Adrian Burnett, Coach Burnett, shout out Coach Burnett and Franklin Parish. They're doing a wonderful job. But AB being your older brother, did you feel kind of any pressure, him being at Tulane, setting records and doing things he was doing?
The funny thing is I had a scholarship offer to Tulane. That's when Coach Bowden was there. And the year I came out, he left that year. So I didn't get the scholarship. But I went to Lafayette, and my first 2 years there, we played against Tulane. And, man, it's like, you're going against your brother, so it's like nice.
Right. So you actually got a chance to play against AB. How was
he killed us.
And that's what I was going to ask you. How was it sitting there watching your brother just set records against you, play after play? Because people don't know Coach Burnett did his thing at Tulane.
He killed us. And I'm sitting there telling the players, I'm like, man, can you at least let somebody else score? Don't let my brother score because I got to hear this. Let somebody else score other than him. But, yeah, I think he probably was 3 or 4 touchdowns against us.
Right.
Easily.
Right. And Brian, share with us about, you being a big man on campus in Bastrop, getting that scholarship to ULL and being away from home. Tell us about your experience at ULL and what kind of went on with you at ULL.
Yeah, it's hard to get away from home and not focus on the task at hand. I got there and got girl crazy and was not focused on the task at hand. Tell you a small story. I'm sitting there and I'm supposed to be in class, but I'm sitting there talking to this young lady, and I see a woman. I'm like, man, that woman look familiar. But I keep talking because it's so far, and as she keep approaching, I'm like, man, that look like my mama. And for sure, she came and snatched me out of school because, back then, your report card came to the house. And my report card came, and I wasn't doing nothing. I wasn't going to class. I was just messing up. And she came, snatched me out of school. The coach didn't want me to go, so he wouldn't release me. And it was just a big ordeal. So I had to sit sit a year out, basically. And that reality hit me then. That real life hit me.
Right. You talk about that your mom showing up on campus, and that's that true structure and motherly love about the plan and purpose of why she sent you to school. And, Brian, we're going to take an intermission. When we come back, we want you to stress to the youth about the importance of focusing and staying focused on your career and your books when you're in college, and the importance of being a student athlete when we return after this intermission. We'll be right back with Scrap City standout and legend, former Jacksonville Jaguar and the New England Patriots, Mr. Brian Jones, when we return after this intermission. Welcome back to Emerse Podcast 360. This portion of the show is being brought to you by Burchell Family Insurance Agency and Stepping Stones LLC of Jonesboro, Louisiana. We're still here with former Jacksonville Jaguar and New England Patriots, Scrap City standout, Mr. Brian Jones. When we left to go to intermission, Brian, we were speaking about being a true student athlete, and you was sharing with us how you wasn't taking the journey and the purpose serious at first until mom showed up on campus and snatched you out of school. Kind of tell us how that went for you, Brian.
So yeah, my mom comes. She snatched me out of school, and we driving back from Lafayette, which is like 3.5 hours. And she's mad, and she's rightfully mad. And just telling me, you wasn't doing nothing. I didn't send you back down there to party I sent you for school. And I smarted off to her. And when I tell you, my mom stopped in the middle of the road and told me to get out. Just get out. And I was like, what? And luckily, like, she told me to get out. A state trooper pulled behind us, and he came and he told me, no, it wasn't even state trooper. It was Sturgeon Police Department. He pulled behind us and told me, yeah, son, you better get out. And I got out, got in the car with him, and he took me all the way back to Bastrop. But that was just like, a wake up call. It was like I wasn't doing nothing. And that's what I think kids got to understand, that was just something that was given to me, a scholarship. Take advantage. Get your class out. It's easy. I just had to go to class. I wouldn't even go into class. So, take advantage of what's given to you.
Right. And I think a lot of times, Brian, when we go away from home, we don't understand that the opportunity that we're being given, especially those that receive scholarships like you did. But mom snatching you out of school kind of woke you back up and put you back on the journey. Kind of share with us, how did you end up sitting out that period of time and end up at University of Arkansas Pinebluff in the SWAC?
Luckily, I had high school coaches that still, kept in touch. I had Coach Tippett and Coach Tapp, and then, Coach Bradshaw. One day, Coach Tippett calls me and said, hey, you still want to play football? And I was like, man, yeah. So he ended up calling down to Lafayette, and they was going to take some kids down there, to get looked at, and end up bringing me. And, I met Coach Hartman, and, didn't even do a workout. Pretty much just met Coach Hartman, talked to him, and, they offered me a scholarship.
And I'm just listening to you, Brian. We spoke earlier, but I'm just showing, and it's steady showing how God had favor on you, even though you were blowing it at ULL, not getting your academics, but he still had favor on you. So you had coaches that believed in you, and he still put his hands on you and brought you back to a lower class level of competition. But it all worked out for you. Kind of share with the people about going from ULL to down in the SWAC at University of Arkansas Pinebluff.
SWAC is different. I must say it. Football is football when you come down to it, but like the SWAC is different. It's slower. It's not as fast as D1, but the competition is there. You got a whole bunch of kids that didn't make grades back then. That's who went to the SWAC. You got the, 5-star, 4-star, 3-star athletes that just didn't make the grades so they can go D1. And that's who was in the SWAC. And so the competition was there. It just had to take advantage of it, and which, I got there and I had a couple coaches there, and, they was like, hey, you can make it to the NFL, which I wasn't even thinking about at first. And then, they showed me the way, and I took fully advantage of it.
And you say, and I'm listening to you, even though you not totally focused, but it seemed like everybody who had faith in you never lost faith in you. Brian, kind of share with us that beacon point where you realize, hey, I'm good enough to go to the next level.
We were sitting there, playing, game after game after game, and my stats was looking great. And I'm like, oh man, and we start getting, coaches from teams coming and watching, scouts coming and watching. And, one scout pulled me over and he was like, hey, we're going to be looking at you. And once I heard that, and once Coach Hartman and Coach Coach Robinson grabbed me and said, "Hey, you'll be all right. You'll make it." I pretty much focused there. Like I really cut out all the craziness. You know, I didn't party like I used to. I focused on football and took full advantage of it.
And that's a great thing that you mentioned about the coaches that took interest in you. Brian, kind of share with us, how do you remember some of the guys that you played with that probably didn't get the opportunity to go to the next level, but you feel like they should have? You still with us, B?
Yeah, I'm here.
I say, kind of share with us with the guys that you played with at Arkansas Pinebluff that you feel like could have went to the next level but didn't have the opportunity.
Man, we had plenty. We had this Keith Scott. We call him Kiki. I think he will be the next coach at Pinebluff. Great player. Tyrone, which I think was the best DB in the SWAC when I played. Had a couple quarterbacks, a couple wide receivers. The best thing that happened to me was we had a offensive lineman named Van Buren who went to the Chargers the year before me. And me and him was real cool. We understood each other. And, he looked out for me and told his agent about me. And, I got a call from his agent one day and said, keep up the good work. I'm looking at you. And, like, as soon as my senior year was over, he called me. And he said, come to San Diego. I want you to train, get ready for the NFL. And I just took a chance.
Right. And you shared with me about when you finally go to get the draft day, the dreams coming true, rebuild the trust with mom. And here it is, it's draft day. Take us back to that day and that experience. A lot of people don't know it can be gut-wrenching and it can be exciting at the same time. And share with us about draft day, bro Jones.
So for draft day, to me, it was not the best. You get all these calls before draft even started. And, I got a call from San Diego. I got a call from Jacksonville. I got a call from, Cincinnati. I got calls from everybody saying how, they was looking forward to getting me to their team. And then the draft started. And that was the year that Miami, if you went to Miami, you were in the draft. Miami had water boys that was getting the draft that year. And, first round goes and, it's Miami, and whatever. And then second round, third round, then I get a call from a team. Come out, we looking at your next round. Then fourth round go, I got another call from a team. We're looking at your fifth round. And then fifth round go, another call from a team. We're looking at the sixth round. And it got so where I just said, forget it. I don't want to see the draft. I don't want to look at it. And I just went back in my room and, I may shed a couple of tears. And then as a free agent, what happened is, once the draft is over with, everybody calling. I may have got a call from every team. And it was like, hey, we still want you to come and, offer so much. And my agent, me and him came to a conclusion that I was going to pick Jacksonville. And it worked out for me.
Right. And Brian, I remember watching you. I didn't get a chance to see you in high school or college, but I remember Brian Leftwich was my guy coming out of Marshall. And I'm sitting in college one day, and guys came to the dorm room and say, hey, guys, this dude named Brian Jones, they saying he from Bastrop, he played with Jacksonville. So I run down to the lobby to watch it, and there you are with my guy Jimmy Smith and Brian Leftwich. Share with us how it was playing with Jackson State inductee and Hall of Famer, who I recently met with Mr. Otis Brown, who was inducted. Share with us about the experience with Jimmy Smith.
Jimmy the Jet Smith. Jimmy is my guy. I'm gonna tell you, when I first got there, me coming from Arkansas Pinebluff, which is a historical black college, Jimmy coming from Jackson State, he just grabbed me and he was like, "Man, I'm gonna look out for you." And what was bad that everybody was like, "Man, stay away from Jimmy. Stay away from Jimmy. Jimmy do some things. Stay away from Jimmy." And and I was like, "No, he can. If he gonna help me, he gonna help me." And I'm not easily influenced to do things, so I can make my mind up on things like that. And I go out for our first practice, and I gotta tell you this story. This kid that was trying out for wide receiver at the time, they drafted me as a tight end, but I pretty much played nothing but wide receiver. And I asked this kid who had the playbook on this field this route, and I was like, "What I do on this route?" And he gave me the wrong route. And I ran the route perfect, but it was the wrong route. And Byron still threw the ball. And I ended up catching the ball and coming back. And then, coach cussed me out and said, "You ran the wrong route." And I'm looking at the kid because I'm like, man. And then Jimmy grabbed me and he said, "Man, listen, everybody wants that position. You don't listen to nobody but yourself. Don't ask nobody else." And then from that day on, like, me and him we just clicked, man. Like, man, Jimmy is one of them guys, man. When I tell you, his routes look the same every time. If he run the goal post, whatever, his routes look the same every time. And I just sit there and just learn from him. He taught me how to play football. He taught me how to invest everything. Between Jimmy to Lance, Fred Taylor, Byron Leftwich, there's some guys that I honestly say helped me out.
Right. And I was going to ask you, being with Leftwich and now seeing that he's a great offensive coordinator, I know you gained a lot of tips from Brian. How was your relationship, and how was Brian as a leader in the locker room?
He was great. Brian was one of them guys that, he loved to have his fun, but, he loved to be serious in the locker room. I got fined my rookie year, and, fine was like $5,000. And I'm looking like, oh, man, I can't afford to pay, $5,000 of my money. I don't want $5,000 taken from me. And Byron grabbed the fine, and he was like, "Man, I got you," and brought me $5,000 the next day. That's what kind of guy he was. And Fred was the same way. Jimmy was the same way. We just had some great guys
right
on that team.
Right. And Brian, to say the least, you had a productive career stint while you were in Jacksonville. Kind of share with us what happened in Jacksonville, because we just knew you end up being a franchise player in Jacksonville. What happened?
Okay, I go into my third year and I sign back with Jacksonville on a 1-year extension. And, I'm doing good. I'm actually, playing all special teams. I'm like the second team tight end, so I'm actually getting the game. And like they actually drafted tight end that year, first round, Marcellus Lewis. They drafted him that year. And I'm like, oh, this ain't looking good because, I've seen it before. I've seen they draft somebody, then, you in trouble. So, they draft Marcellus. And, I go to my coach and I asked him, he was like, "Don't worry about it. Just do you." And I was like, okay. So I'm going one day and, they called me to the office. And they said, "Have you talked to your agent yet?" I was like, "No." They said, "Well, we sent over a proposal to him." And I was like, "What?" They said, "We want to sign you to extension." So we sent a proposal over to him. So I was like, okay. So I left the office. I go call my agent, and me and him talking. He was like, they sent this over, but, I've been talking to other teams. I talked to Seattle and talked to a couple more teams, and they like you too. So he was like, I'm thinking we should reject this offer. And I'm like, yeah, reject it. It was a base deal. It wouldn't, it was a nice deal, but it was a base deal. And man, when I tell you I go out to practice and a week later I get hit in the knee, during practice, and we weren't even hitting. That was the killer part about it. I get hit in the knee, and another kid backed and fell down in the back of my knee, and I felt it when it popped as soon as I got hit, and I knew like I wasn't getting up.
Wow. And so injuries prone you in Jacksonville. And so Jacksonville
Yes.
must decided to trade you or release you. What was the actual process in leaving
The
Jacksonville?
process was they I ended up having surgery, so they put me on IR, and when I went on IR, I talked to Shaq Harris from Monroe. He was the uh, head man at Jacksonville, and I just asked Shaq for real. I'm like, do y'all have any plans on me being here? And he said, I would love to have you here, but I don't think so. So uh, I'm not going to beat around the bush with you. If you can find a better deal somewhere else, you should go and try that. And that's what we did. Like, we went and worked out for like 12, 14 different teams. And I couldn't get a doctor to sign off on my knee. That was the biggest problem. All the doctors was like, we'll love to have him here, but we won't sign off on me. And which, brings me to New England. And I'm like, once you heard this like over and over and over, I go to New England, I'm thinking the same thing. And they were just way different than anybody else.
So when you get to New England, what was that experience like? I know we like I said, we spoke earlier, and you keep telling me about these transitions from going to ULL to Arkansas Pinebluff. Now when you went from Jacksonville to New England, and you saying you thought you wasn't in the same league, you thought you was in a different league. That New England is such a high class organization. Explain to us about New England Patriots.
So I get to New England and I'm late. My flight was late. I get there, the kids are already working out, and what you do with these other teams, you work out, then you go see the doctor. Well, with New England, I went and seen the doctor. You go see the doctor first, then you go work out. So I get to New England, I see the doctor. He said, your knee look fine, but let's see how it goes. I get there, I'm late. Everybody's working out and they pretty much done. The coach put me in for like 2 plays and he was like, that's it. And I'm thinking, man, I'm about to go on here. I done called my agent already. And I'm like, man, they ain't gonna sign me. I just worked out for 2 plays and I was done. And Belichick called me back to his office and, he was like, hey, we want you to stay for 2 weeks. You think you could do that, or, do you want to go try out for somebody else? It's up to you. And I called my agent. I said, hey, this is what they want me to do. And my agent's like, stay there. And I was like, I think I should stay here too. And so, they put me in the hotel. Basically what they did was brought me over and worked me out separately from everybody else. And I did workout after workout after workout after workout, basic testing that knee to see, how it is. And once they seen that knee was, steady enough, Belichick called me back to his office and he, offered me a deal.
Right.
And I signed with New England.
Right. And that was, I know that had to be a great experience being there with the guys, especially playing with Tom Brady and being under Coach Bill Belichick. Kind of share with us about the experience with being under the guise of the legendary Tom Brady.
Yeah, Brady was different. Like I tell anybody, like, you can see the difference between, I've been with Byron, and Byron was great, but, Brady hunger and Byron hunger is totally different. Brady comes in at 4 something in the morning. He's working out. Then he do his regular workout with the team, and then we'll do film session. Then Brady go work out again, and then we'll practice. Brady working out after practice. I've never seen nobody do as much as he do. Just totally different species.
Right. And, it go back to when you were speaking about them drafting Mercedes Lewis and you feeling the pressure leaving out of Jacksonville. We had Marshae Green on earlier episodes, and he gave the definition of the NFL standing for not for long. And for whatever reason, it seems like politics always hinders guys from Scrap City. You guys, we make it, but they don't let us make it. How do you feel about the NFL and the definition Marshae Green gave about not for long?
Well, you got to look at it. Okay, so every year, you got kids getting drafted, plus the free agents, and they're younger. And, you can't just come in and just, do the bare minimum. Like, you got to come in and do your job plus more. And, it's a competition to the best that win. Yeah, you're going to have them coaches that love this player, and he's going to get, he's going to get more ticked than you because, he's, that's the coach's job to player, but you just got to keep going. Like, I don't knock what happened in my career. I'm blessed to even make it. And that's what I tell somebody. I tell them all the time. I tell my nephew, I tell my sons, it's easy to get there. It's hard to stay there. And that's the biggest problem.
Right. And Brian, I feel the politics and the frustration from a lot of guys that I've spoke to from out the area in Northeast Louisiana that went on to play professional sports. And I can still hear the frustration with you guys having things done out of your control. How does that really settle in when you look at it like, I know I could still be out there? Just looking at Mercedes still playing with the Green Bay Packers, does that ever run through the back of your mind like, man, I got tricked out the league?
No, I would love to see how, I could take back that injury and see how, my life would have ended up being. But, God just didn't have that for me. He wanted me to do something else. So, I didn't sit there and pout, I came out the league in 2008 and I went straight to the sheriff department in 2008. I didn't sit around and, hey, let me go make this team or make this team. Once I knew it was over, I knew it was over. And I moved on. I just knew it wasn't for me anymore.
Right. Brian, we're going to take an intermission and we want to get into your beyond the game after your NFL career and what you're doing and what you've done for Scrap City, from working with the Mohawks Parish Sheriff Department on to the police department for 6 or 7 years here in the Scrap. And when we come back, we always ask our guests, looking through a glass, how do you feel about what's going on in Scrap City from your perspective? When we return, we're still with former Jacksonville Jaguar and the New England Patriots, our own standout TE, Mr. Brian Jones, when we return after this intermission.
And that's what we appreciate you doing, for stepping out, stepping on, trying to do things for the kids in the community. And we appreciate that. Even though I done moved away over in Arizona, but everything remains the same. Because we call it for a change.
Right.
And once you step back and start looking, as they say, get outside the box, with that third eye that you presented, it makes things that much better. And that brings it to the full circle, once again, 360.
Now if you've seen what I've seen, I know you extra the game. They're giving catch 20 to life over crumbs of cocaine. How could this happen to us? They got us killing each other.
Welcome back to Emerge Podcast 360. That was our sponsor, Mr. Robert Fitzroy, former Morehouse Parish School Board member. Shout out to Mr. Robert Fitzroy, old squeeze out there in Arizona, for all that he does for Emerge 360. We're still here with former Jacksonville Jaguar and New England Patriots, Scrap City's own standout TE, Mr. Brian Jones. Brian, kind of share with us after your NFL career and beyond the game about you with this law enforcement, working here in Morehouse Parish and with the Bastrop Police Department. Kind of share with us about your experience and your perspective and your what you gained from working with your youth in Morehouse Parish.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you about that, but first I gotta give a shout out to another person that was vital in my football career, Bastrop own Don Doty. Don Doty taught me a lot also. So if I don't shout him out, I know he gonna hear this and he gonna be like, So yes, thank you, Don Doty.
Don, they say you should wear bells on his shoes. Shout out to old Don Doty. They say it's debatable between him and Jerry Rice. And that, Don, if you listening, we waiting on your interview. It's the legendary interview coming. But Brian, just share with us, bro.
If you ask Don Doty, he was way better than Jerry.
all the time.
No, I came straight out of football. Then went straight to police, and then it was different. I enjoyed it. I got to see how Bastrop really was. And I felt I did a little different. I didn't do much as I would like to, but I did feel like my presence there was shown. I was there, and but again, it's a job, and people got to understand that most police are not trying to ruin your life or nothing to that nature. They're doing their job.
Right, and I think, and we know this, that like we talked to James Doty, who's down in New Orleans. I know you remember James Doty, and he shared with us about, it's a job, and people have to take into consideration that you guys are humans, and just looking through a glass, what do you feel that Scrap City needs to do from your experience to turn things around in the community?
First, they need a lot of accountability. I think we got to stop saying that everybody's after me or everybody's trying to ruin this for me or ruin that for me. Like, as a parent, I tell people all the time, once my kids are out of my presence, I don't know what they're doing. So I don't come to the nature of what my, you tell me my child done something, unless it's just way out of his character, then I'm gonna be like, yeah, he done it. And I think that's the biggest problem. Parents see, if he was disrespectful at home, what you think he's gonna be in the real world? If he's, toting guns or she toting guns and stuff on Facebook, and then they get caught with a gun, don't say, that's my child won't do that. You see it on Facebook. My mom was always like this. If she didn't buy it and I brought it to the house, then where did you get it from? And take it back from where you got it from. I don't understand the logic of, you got kids that bring stuff in the house that costs money, and you don't ask where it got it from, or don't, you're not there to be your child's friend. You're there to be the parent. They need directions. And you got to start early. You can't wait till they're 15, 16, then try to give them directions. And that's the biggest problem. Our youth in Bastrop is the biggest problem in Bastrop.
Right. And we got to have accountability, for what our kids do and how we raise them and what we allow them to see. It's all about accountability. But Brian, you were here and like you said, you didn't get a chance to do all that you want to do because God continues to exalt you to higher positions and to higher authority. Now, explain to us about this exciting job that you found with the Tulsa, Oklahoma Sheriff Department with the extradition unit, where you are extraditing prisoners from all over America, all 50 states. Share with us about that experience, Brian.
Yeah, I came to Tulsa, and I started off working here, and once I got here, I heard about this extradition unit, and I filled out a transfer sheet to go there, and like nobody wanted to do this, so I thought this was like the worst job ever. And then, I started doing it, and I'm like, man, I get to travel, I get to fly on the plane, and all I'm doing is picking up, felonies. And I'm like, this is like the greatest job ever. I go all 50 states. I've been to Alaska and picked one up. And I'm like, why everybody hate this job, And, when I'm not traveling, it's Monday through Friday. I got holidays off. I got a take-home car. I'm like, why is this the worst job ever? And then, I guess it was just word of mouth that it was the worst job ever, because now everybody wants to get on it. Everybody's trying to come to the unit. So, I love my job now. I even got a chance to come to Bastrop and pick one up, and I was there and able to get some of grandma cooking and, my aunt's cooking. So,
Wow. That sounds like an exciting job. Have you met any interesting people out there picking up fugitives from state to state?
Oh, man, we go, like I said, we go to all 50 states. So, I've been to Vegas plenty of times. I've been to, it's like a mini vacation for a day.
Right. You
Brian,
get
there early. You got, you can go and do what you want to do, but as long as you pick them up the next day, everything is good. So yeah, it's like a mini vacation every time I go somewhere.
Right. I can hear the excitement in your voice from high school through college, through the NFL, and now working with this extradition unit. I can hear the excitement in your voice. But Brian, before we let you go, we know that you're a busy man. You have plenty of things to do and look after the little ones. But before you go, is there anything that you want to share with your city and Scrap City from the heart of Brian Jones?
Well, Scrap City, I'm a class of 99, which is the best class they ever come to, Bastrop. So, I just want to say, just be patient. I feel like we are so quick to judge or so quick to not like things that are going on. I heard about the principal and her tactics, which, like I say, I don't agree with everything she's doing, but she's trying, and just don't be so quick to judge. Let it play out and then make your judgments. Even with the football team, my brother was coach there. Of course, I'm going to be rooting for him, but I feel like Bastrop got to the point where they was spoiled. Brad brought him a couple championships, and they didn't understand the grind that Brad did before he got them championships. Football is a little bit more than just W's and L's. It's making men, making boys into men. And I think everything in basketball sometimes is just so quick to just, hey, let's move on to the next thing instead of let's see how this play out.
Right. Brian, we want to thank you for coming through, sharing your journey and your story, and letting us inside the life and the personal life of Brian Jones. And, man, we appreciate you for stopping through, and you will ever be one of our standouts. And we want to let you know we're going to put you right there with the Lance, Otis Brown, Mr. Gary Eve, your dad, and everybody else, Rob Lloyd, who we just put on the Immerse Hall of Fame, Miss Hazel Sellers, and all of the rest of Patrick Stewart. You're going right there with them on our Immerse 360 Wall of Fame, bro. And
hey, man, thank you so much, man. But again, man, I love what you're doing, man, and hopefully, you get a couple more people on here, and I can't wait till you get Jimmy Smith. I'm telling you, it's gonna be a great interview. he got a lot of stories to tell.
Right. If you still talk to Mr. Jimmy, man, tell him we still waiting to get that call back from him and his publicist, man. We looking for that interview if you still talking to old Jimmy.
I will tell him, man. I'm telling you, it's going to be a great interview, man. That man, he has been through a lot, but, man, he's a great person. We'll give his shirt off his back, man. He's a great person.
Well, Brian, we thank you for stopping through, bro, and we hope that we can get you back real soon. We wish you the best on all your endeavors. Any last words?
Class of 99, baby. You know how it is. Best they ever did.
Well, I'm your host, Maserati. This has been another episode of Beyond the Game. We want to thank Mr. Brian Jones, former Jacksonville Jaguar and New England Patriots, Scrap City standout, for stopping through. Hey, this has been brought to you by Involved Social and Civic Club, where we understand the social and civic need of love, learn, live, and laugh. Until next time, y'all get involved. Y'all stay encouraged. And most of all, y'all stay immersed. We out of this thing.
I was raised in the ghetto. I've been to the bottom. Ain't nothing at the bottom for me. Only tell all my problems. Seems he can only solve it for me. I was raised in the ghetto. So struggle ain't no stranger to me. I grind hard for the paper. I think the top is where I'm destined to be.
I ain't never been no crash, I'm in love with fast money. I hate to ask for something, nobody gave me nothing. Life on the line, I'm busting. I done been through enough shit. I ain't trying to be no upset. I don't trust anything suspect. Lost some years to the jungle. Brought some tears to my mama. Came home, tried to be humble, but I kept going under. Chip on my shoulder, just being honest. Made myself a promise that I ain't never going